Welcome to Moments with Marianne. I'm so delighted we're spending this time here today. We have just a phenomenal guest coming right up who's none other than Ilona Selke. She's been on the show before to talk about her new book, Dream Big, The Universe is Listening. So, Ilona is an international best-selling author, seminar leader, lecturer, and CEO and founder of Living from Vision. She has over 30 years of experience and has inspired thousands of people worldwide to discover their power of consciousness and create a successful life. Ilona's life is what most people would consider living the dream, and she's here today to teach us how to shapeshift our life from the inside out. So today's show topic, which is very exciting, is the matrix for daily miracles. So let's welcome to the show Ilona Selke.
Thank you, Marianne, for having me again here on your show. It's amazing to be sharing with you this space and knowing the amazing outreach that you have touching
Thank
people's
you.
lives.
Thanks. And I am just such a big fan of your work and your book, Dream Big, The Universe is Listening. You have several books. It's one of my favorites. And so,
Yay.
yeah, so I'm so glad that
Awesome.
we're going to sit and talk about the matrix of miracles. It's like, what
Yes.
is that? I mean, they're like, gosh, I want to have miracles in my life. How
Yeah.
can I do that consistently?
Right. Or at all, right? I mean,
Oh,
I
sure.
oftentimes, when I teach seminars, and this is worldwide, I ask one question. I say, have you ever manifested a parking spot when you needed it? And would you believe it? A good third to half of the people say they did. So a lot of people have experimented with, saying out loud what they need, and then the universe kind of creates the answer. And I would imagine a lot of the people listening in right now have had that experience somewhere in their life. Now, you're asking the major question, how can we do it continuously, reliably? Like, is there a recipe, right? Is there like, how do I bake this cake right?
For sure, because you know what? I don't know about most people, but I mean, I can do the parking angel thing, but sometimes
Mhm.
when it gets to bigger things, I'm like, my cake goes flat in the oven, you know? So
Well, I remember just recently, a friend or two, actually two Wonder Women, both in their late 60s. One who's had lovers her entire life, but not in the last recent while, since um, both of them doing mega things, $1 million bookseller, and another one mega humanitarian person, but busy with kids and not with her love life. So the one says, go ahead and write down a list of exactly what you want in a lover. I mean, let's be really outrageous. So she was outrageous. She says totally young, totally good looking, totally everything she was not. And,
Mhm.
the other one got mad at her and said, now don't be ridiculous. You don't want to set yourself up for disappointment. But lo and behold, she not only made a list, she felt like, I deserve it.
Good
And
for
I think that
her.
was, yeah, and that was a key. And I'm starting with a key element is the feeling that if you can imagine whatever you want as already having happened. This is one of those key miracle ingredients. If you can imagine being in that film of your own future now and feel like it's perfectly normal to have that, it's like no big deal.
Mhm.
That's when you get your wish fulfilled. So this woman, every muscle in the body was taut, every, long hair, dedicated to God, totally like spiritual as well as hunky. And she had him riding through the desert on a white horse in her imagination. Now, I can see the point of her girlfriend, who was the million book writer, author. I'm not going to mention people's names here right now. She said, please don't be ridiculous. Actually, I don't even feel like having dinner with you. I'm so mad at you. Well, the other one is like, I don't care. I really want that. And if I don't get that, by golly, I don't want it.
Mhm.
So what came about is a week later, this particular man who fit the image landed at her feet and begged her to take him with her. Now, 30 years younger, to become her disciple and like learn everything, including the arts of everything, like making love. So now her skin was wrinkly. I mean, worse than a California girl, worse than you probably have your average 65-year-old, but very gutsy. has her dream come true, including the portion of where she rides through the desert of Egypt, him on a white horse in front of her with long, blowing black hair. Now, the girlfriend hadn't believed that she could create this. This woman had no problem. She's like, why not? I believe in myself. She's done good all of her life. She's helped a million souls. She's rescued women and girls from prostitution, from forced child labor, from all sorts of things. I believe, and this is a key ingredient I just recently thought of, if we can, in our hearts of hearts, feel like we deserve it, if you can say yes to your dream, really inside, and really want it, no matter whether it's small or large, doesn't really matter, you're going to get it. You're going to experience your dream fulfilled. Now, I think I'm a great fan of declaring it out loud and even saying it and or writing it. Key number 2. Write it down. Be clear on what you want. So when, a lot of people say, well, I want a better job, more money. Well, what is more money? $5? So
Mm-hmm.
ask yourself, what is it for you that you feel like, yes, that's what I want, and I can say yes, and I think, by golly God, I deserve it, and it should be mine. I mean, I really feel it. If on the one hand you say I want $1 million and part of your tummy goes tight, it's no use saying that. So make sure that when you write it down, when you imagine it, it's large enough to make you get tickled pink over it. And the other one is you can say yes to it. If you're really passionate, desiring it, saying yes, and saying, yes, I deserve it.
Well, and when you work with people, is that kind of one of the major one things that you see that there's a problem with, that they don't feel like they deserve it?
Yeah, and you can read it in some of my books. Wisdom of the Dolphins is one. Dream Big, The Universe is Listening is another, where I write down miracle stories that are huge. And I wind up talking to God and saying, God, I don't want to use my karmic credit card. And this leads into the answer to your question. How honestly, in your own feeling, can you say, I have a clear conscience? I have been a person that I believe deserves, in your own eyes. It doesn't matter whether you think there is a measuring God or not, like the Egyptians did, like we imagine the Hellbrim and Firestone or the heaven choice at the end of life. It's whether you think you've been good to the point where you think you deserve.
Mm.
And if deep down you feel like, yes, I have I'm clear, I'm good. Or you feel like, some people feel like they deserve it whether they've been good or not. It's only our own measuring stick, our own portion in our own hearts that says, I deserve it. I'm good. I'm in my own eyes. I think, God, the universe owes it to me. When you can get, and this doesn't have to be a bad negative feeling, it's a very nice feeling. It's like, yes, I am ready and open, and I think why not? Why not? Then you will be able to receive it. Now, getting there, and a lot of people do things where they feel like they cheat on themselves, they cheat on others, they aren't feeling that their karmic debit card is that clean. They buy things in advance and don't wait until the universe gives them whatever their need is. When people feel like they have doubts about themselves, that's when people slow themselves down.
Mm.
But you sound a little doubtful there. What do you think?
No, no, actually, I was because you talk about this karmic debit card, and I'm sure we have some listeners going, "Well, what is that, and how do I use
Yeah,
that?" So can you
well,
break it
don't.
down? Yeah, is mine maxed out?
Really, yeah. Well, the thing is, one way or the other, it's, if you ask for a castle, um, if your soul says, yes, you need a castle and it's the right thing for you, it'll come free of charge, so to speak, or the means will come to you. Things will fold and unfold, flow and unfold for you. But there are people who, just like the regular credit card, they want to have it now and they want to have it no matter what the cost. And we don't want to pay later for what we want to get now. That's what I call it. Don't buy on your karmic debit card. In other words, I remember this one story. I was flying to Hawaii and I have to pull in the details. We were in an airplane, and they had announced that things weren't going right, and they had to like fix a fuselage. And I thought, well, actually, yeah. So anyway, I had actually done a diagnostic on the airplane in my mind, and I said, "Oh, it's in the fuselage." And sure enough, they
Mm-hmm.
came on the air after a while and said, "It's in the fuselage." And I experimented with me just sitting there being a passive bystander, so to speak, not doing anything in my mind. And it was taking forever. And it's like, no, yeah, no, no, we're late, we're late, we're later. And then I thought, you know what? Dear God, if there is any way without me burdening my future karma, could we like get this show on the road? I would really like to be flying and arriving on time because I have seminars to teach and things to do. And I remember going back in my mind and just going, is there anything that I have done where I feel like I owe it back to the universe? Is there any part of me that hesitates when I ask for this favor? Is there any part of me that feels, well, but I haven't been really nice to my neighbor or whatever it is, you know?
Mm-hmm.
When we don't feel that way, in other words, when we feel this good conscience in our heart of hearts, we can feel free to ask, and the universe can be free to pour in on us. And so the evolution of manifesting and talking with the universe becomes a dialogue of walking that, and I want to say tightrope, the line towards your destiny where you do exactly what you feel is true and right for you, to where when you ask for a miracle, you have open doors, like your heart is open, your sense of guilt is not interfering, your sense of worthiness is open and available. And so when I did that, I imagined the end result, which is the number, two thing you have to do. Describe it, feel and imagine as if it's already happened, as if it's a film that is happening now. Like you're in that amazing sensation of whatever the fulfillment is that you want. It does two things. It makes you independent of the external result, and it creates an internal state of fulfillment, which, people in the secret book called it the magnetism. Well, it's less a magnetic function than having a pre-created blueprint internally to which the external reality molds itself. So if you create a pattern, a blueprint
Mm-hmm.
internally, and you feel it, it's the feeling part that is like activating it and bringing it into full fruition. And sure enough, shortly after I did that experiment, before not doing anything and then going, okay, I'm now in my airplane, I'm flying, and we're arriving on time, where they said, okay, we're ready to fly. They fixed it. I don't know how come this is super fast. This is it, done deal. We're on our road. And I'm sharing that for two reasons. One, it's when, people say, well, how do you know, and this and that, and it's, you can run experiments with yourself where you pre-create the future in advance in a fulfilled way and or not do anything. And the universe, I believe, is waiting for our co-creation. It's really wanting us to shape up and get the ship going, live our purpose, live our passion.
And move the ship from the dock for sure.
Exactly. Get on with your life and live your dreams.
Well, and I think it's really, for me, I mean, you hear about this internal blueprint, you're like, well, gosh, okay, that is a little bit easier than these magnetics that we don't know how those run or what's
Right.
going on with those. It's kind of this, ambiguous, etherical thing floating out there, So
Right.
to have this internal blueprint, it's like, gosh, okay, so I have impact on how this works then.
Right. Exactly. And I like that you mentioned that because a lot of people go like, well, how do I create a magnetism? How do I magnetize? It's like, what do I draw in? I can't imagine even having enough umph to draw a castle in or whatever it may be. Well, all you need to do is be there. It's more like imagining that you have this universe with many parallel universe options available to you, and you just dial in the one option that you really want to experience. And of course, our entire backlog of history, our parental upbringing, our childhood imprints carry through into our how much we believe in ourselves. But I tell you, if you start with small goals, even if you've not found yourself ever to be that successful, you create small successes and you will build your self esteem. And your successes will grow as your sense of purpose, as your sense of self esteem grows, and as you perfect your ability to bake this cake.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, you tell me because you're the expert on this. Is it that people sometimes feel, that they don't have enough self-confidence, and that's why they have to take these baby steps to kind of build up to the things that, creating these miracles that they want in their life on a
Right.
daily basis?
I definitely recommend it. And I would, we have a course, Living from Vision, where I teach
Mm-hmm.
people the whole recipe from beginning to end. It's a 5-week self-study course, but they also can study it with people. We have people teaching it even in China. Can you believe it? We have the course in Chinese, in French. I'm meeting up with the Canadian and French speaking teachers this weekend on Zoom. And it's it's a way where people can study, practice in whatever their next level of expanse is. So, you have a huge person who has personality, who has like expectations of huge success. Of course, they're going to imagine a bigger ship than a person who's just starting to build a little paper ship. But it doesn't matter how big relative to you. It's always your next step. And we
Yeah.
build. And yes, I'm a big fan of doing the steps until they work and getting the feedback from the universe. And then okay, this worked, this is how it worked, and you build confidence. And confidence begets confidence. So you figure out really the universe is listening, and that is the number one key for us to understand as soul, as we're evolving. We're here, people may say, oh, manifesting, it's like I don't want to occupy myself with some materialistic things. I had Buddhist people participating. And
Mm-hmm.
I said, well, doesn't you have to get up in the morning and do what? Whether you become a more spiritual, more loving, more compassionate person, or whether you finally have a car or a job or a good relationship, it all is part of living. We can't get around the fact that we have to make choices every single moment, and or we repeat patterns that we've been comfortably accustomed to, and then we stay the same. We might as well say, well, okay, so where do I want my ship to go? What and actually in the book, and I love this book called Flow, it describes happiness with a couple markers. It says people are happy when they expand beyond their current horizon. So you can become happy when you take your next expansion step beyond what you've already done. So don't keep the mill going the way you've always done it. Just go, where can I go next? If it's a language you want to learn, if it's a new art you want to develop, a new skill, or exposing yourself more to life or people, whatever it is, just from now on, think of what your next expansion level is. And until you master it, and then the next step after that. The number two thing that makes people happy is the feeling that they are larger or beyond the boundary of their physical self. Like bigger, they are floating. They are oftentimes describing it as a amorphous state of sensing a self that is not tied by boundaries as they currently usually think of themselves in terms of identity, body, persona. So we teach people how to get from where they're at into a bigger level, a bigger dreaming level. We get people into sensing their self from the inside out, their bigger, their ideal self, to grow in the state of from 3 or 5 sense perception to multidimensional perception of who you are. And it's in that, and I feel you're just shifting as we do that, I think. As we do, we start being able to transcend time, space boundaries. We can connect with people at a distance, but we also can connect with a higher source more easily, with the divine, with the angelic world. And that's when we start getting that hand reaching down into our life.
Yeah, and moving forward. Well, I've taken your Living from Vision course and love it and felt that it really helped transform and we won't go over it. I mean, people could look that up on you have livingfromvision.com that they
Right.
can go ahead and check that out. But I found it to be very impactful to just help
Yes.
get you out of these ruts. And that's kind of
Yes.
what you are helping people with because you see so many people, they're like, I'm stuck. I don't know what to do.
Right.
It's like just like we were talking about, there's magnetics out here. It's like, well, what am I supposed to do with a magnetic? So,
Right. Right. And it's always good to have someone and some recipe to follow. Generally speaking, I believe most of us listening here right now have heard, or most of you listening, and I'm talking right now, but have heard most of the concepts and read them in books. And honestly, I do too. I know them, and then I have to put them into practice. I have to sit down, I do my morning exercise, pre-envision the day, pre-experience success, pre-envision my more ideal version of self. And this and that's what the book Flow creates is
mhm,
describes as our sense of happiness comes from growing beyond ourselves and expanding into that sense of a being that isn't identified in the five senses, but is in a larger connection with a greater whole. And that's what we do in the course. We set up that connection, even discovering the next portion of our purpose in life. See, most people think we have like one purpose. Well, no, we have talents, yes. You can actually do numerology on that and figure out what your talents are. But the purpose of your soul is oftentimes related to your ability to grow in your capacity to love and to allow light into yourself and to shine it at whatever circumstance. So naturally, when people come up and say, well, I really wanted to always have a better job, but I don't know, I don't get this. We have a process included in the course, and this is what I need to do myself, and I urge people to always, and people do this technique that I learned from Dr. Vernon Wolf. It's called holodynamics. It's included in the course. We call it learning from problems. So we make the fear, the doubt, the anxiety an element of discovery and find out what that fear really wanted. And I like telling this story, which I wrote up in my book, Wisdom of the Dolphins, but I have magical stories in my book, Dream Big, The Universe is Listening. Um, I was in Germany in the fall time in September with my husband.
mhm,
It's now 35 years later, but this was a long time ago, right when we had started learning this technique. And we were sitting in a train driving from Bonn to Stuttgart, and we had made an appointment with a friend who told me a couple weeks earlier when I was in America that he was going to move, and we said, okay, we meet on this and this date at this and this time in Stuttgart at the main train station under the clock. Well, I got the right train to deliver me just on time to leave from Bonn to Stuttgart, but as life would have it, we were late and later and later. And by the time we were halfway there, our train had 40 minutes delay. Germany has these little white clocks, the big clocks at the side of the train stations. And so I got really upset because if we didn't meet him, he was a classical musician. He was going to be gone. In that 1 hour break, he had to pick me up. If I didn't make it, he was going to be gone. So now it was promising to get later and later. And I did this technique, and I want to share that with you because we have enough time, right? To
sure.
share.
I'd love for
Okay.
you to share that. My goodness,
Mhm.
what a treat.
Yes. So let's just say, let's all of us think of something that didn't go so well. Maybe a small thing. I want you to just be able to follow this. Um, and I'll teach you the longer version, and then I'm going to give you 3 magical words after this that you can remember and take home that get you that result if you practice it regularly. It's also from the second segment of the Living from Vision course.
Well, before we get into the meditation, we're going to pause here for a quick break. We've been speaking with author Ilona Selke in regards to the Matrix for Daily Miracles. You've been listening to Moments with Marianne. We'll be right back after these messages.
Internationally recognized and award-winning author Judy Goodman works and teaches outside the box of limited thinking. Working with people from every walk of life, her goal is to empower you to be the best you can be, no matter what the challenge is. Born with the gift of seeing beyond our normal vision, she has an extraordinary gift of working with every challenge. Teaching beyond conventional wisdom, her work is described as life-changing. Visit judygoodman.com. That's judygoodman.com.
There comes a moment when you realize you're somewhere special, when you discover that each beautiful creature that you see has been rescued from a life of absolute horror and brought to this incredibly free place. Here's where their lives were forever changed and where yours will as well. Discover over 500 tigers, bears, and lions at the brand new visitor center at the Wild Animal Sanctuary just outside Denver. For more information, visit wildanimalsanctuary.org. Discover true freedom at the Wild Animal Sanctuary.
Have you ever had the sense that your thoughts might actually be doing something? Ancient secrets of manifesting have been masterfully revealed in the award-winning book Manifesting 123 by Ken Elliott. For the first time, the author's experiences and stories in this book describe exactly how your thoughts can create anything. You've been doing this all your life, but it's never been fully explained for you until now. Visit manifesting123.com for more information today. Manifesting123.com.
There are nearly 2 million Americans living with amputation. Many live right here in San Antonio. Becoming an amputee can be scary, frustrating, isolating, but there's no reason to feel alone. The San Antonio Amputee Foundation is here to help support you and guide you toward resources such as home and car modifications and even prosthetic limbs. For more information or to make a donation, visit saamputee.org. We'll help you live a full, active life, one step at a time. San Antonio Amputee Foundation, healing limbs, hearts, and souls.
Welcome back to Moments with Marianne. We're here today with special guest Ilona Selke, author of Dream Big, The Universe is Listening. And she's going to share with us in just a moment a great meditation. So I think we're about ready now, Ilona. So what do we do now?
Okay, so here we go. Think of something that didn't go so well. Can you think of something?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, as you think about it, that situation, whatever that was, maybe you have some emotions that you can remember that you had that came up for you, something that just went like, ugh, inside of you.
You saw that, huh?
Well, for some people it's like for some people it's for some people it's like it's
Yeah.
different, it's fear, anxiety, whatever, but typically if you feel into that feeling, you feel it somewhere in, I would say, one of your energy centers in the front of your body. Now, for me, driving in that train, I was mad. I was upset. I was steaming. I was like, bad, bad, bad German train stations, train companies. They are supposed to and always are on time, except today. Okay, so I felt, and now you can feel into yourself. Where do you feel that feeling when you think about this thing that didn't go well?
Solar plex.
Me too. That's where I had it. I had it in my tummy. And if I felt into it, it was like more in the front. So you ask yourself, is it in the front or in the back? Is it larger than your part of the body where you're feeling it? Or smaller? And for me, it was good sized, bigger than that area of my body. And so I'm going to ask you, what color does it have? If it had a color, what color would it have? Okay, so just note the color in your mind. For me, it was red. And it doesn't really matter if you see one or just make one up. I'm asking it like if it would have a color, what color would that feeling have? That sadness, that pain, that anxiety, that anger, whatever. For me, it was a brilliant red fireball. Well, so I go ahead and take that feeling image thing outside of yourself. So you can just push it there, let it float in front of you so you can take a look at it. And as you look at it, I'm going to tell you a secret. This universe is made up of fluctuating quantum foam. Now, you may think that we're just doing a little psychological detour here, talking to some kind of emotion. But I'm going to tell you that you just opened CERN's tunnel, time traveling into the future, if you understand how to talk with the quantum foam. You know, CERN's, they're trying to speed up these photons and measure everything. Well, if we realize that our emotional body holds a holographic energy pattern inside of ourselves that is capable of shifting time-space. And that's what I'm telling you it is. If you can communicate with it, you have the power to change time-space. And I have tons of stories and tons of people's of stories to prove this. So let's just go ahead and do some time travel here and go pull that energy and look at it and say, okay, dear quantum foam, my red fireball.
Mine's yellow.
Yours yellow. Okay,
Okay.
cool. What is it that you've been doing? Now, I'm not expecting any good news here. I'm just expecting it to tell me something. You know, maybe it's been mad and making a big fuss, or maybe it's like make things slow down, or some people might feel this, you know, big lump that made them feel like lead in their legs, or, you know, it did something like slowed people down or protected them. For me, it made a big stink. You know, it was like, I'm telling everybody, this is not fair and I don't like it. All right, we got it. So listen to your energy, quantum foam feeling. We call it a holographic dynamic energy pattern. Step number, most important, is already done. You're looking at it. Now, the most important step. Ask it, and this is like where you've got to leave all reason and logic behind for a moment. The left brain is great for keeping logic straight. The right brain is great in shifting dimensions, time, and space. So we're going to ask this feeling energy. What is it you really want? If you could have what you really wanted, what would that be? And now just let it tell you. It could show you, it could give you a feeling, or it could just, oh yeah, of course, you know. For me, what it really wanted was, guess what? Arrive on time. It doesn't have to be complicated. It's like, duh, it wants to arrive on time. Now, remember, this is where we said we leave logic at the doorstep for a moment, because we cannot shift time or space or have miracles if we try to have a linear perception of reality. It simply doesn't work with left brain approaches. So we're going to shift into the magical brain that says, hey, cool, so you want to arrive on time. How, and this is the one you want to remember, how would that feel like if you already had that? Now, you can ask yourself that same question with a bad husband that isn't doing what you want. How would it be if you already had the husband of your choice? This man that loves you, the feeling of fulfillment. How would that feel? And as you feel that feeling, take a mini vacation. Allow yourself to get really into it. Oh, it would feel wonderful. I imagined meeting our friend at the train station on time. We'd meet. No problem with this delay. That's like left brain stuff. My right brain world, my quantum shifting dimensional mind, imagined arriving in a parallel dimension perfectly on time. So I create a blueprint. Remember blueprint? It's not magnetism. It's blueprint, internal state of feeling of already being there. Now, did you get something, Marianne? Did you make something up what you really wanted? Did you feel it? Could
I
you create?
did. I did. And it was interesting when it came up. You're right. If you don't focus on what you think it should be and whatever pops up, you just take it and you run with that. And so
Yes.
it's interesting. It could be as simple as connection or love or whatever that thing is,
Right.
or, you want the train to be on time. So,
Right. Right. It could be anything, but what you remember is you focus on the fulfillment. You focus on the fulfillment of what you really want. So give yourself the pleasure of living in the dream life. So now, when you feel that, you can ask yourself what color it would have. What color would it have in your fulfilled future?
mhm.
Like if you had whatever you wanted, what would it be? The color of that feeling fulfilled. If that feeling that you would have, if it were fulfilled, whatever it is, and I don't need to know what it is for you unless you want to tell us, you can just, you don't have to tell me. I don't care.
Well, do you know it's interesting. Why don't we start with something I think most people want, and that is to have like
No.
deeper connection. You
Okay.
know,
All
so
right.
who doesn't
Yep.
want to have a deeper connection with the divine?
Okay, with a divine. Now imagine being there and feeling it, feeling that absolute, I'm being loved, I connect, I'm one with the source. I'm one with God.
Hmm.
However you want to imagine that. And allow yourself the most magical vacation of your soul and how it would feel like if you already had that. And you know what? People say, well, what if I don't know what that would feel like? Make it up. Be like a kid. Pretend you could make it up. Somewhere in the eons of times of the past and the future, there is the you that knows how that would feel like. So allow yourself to feel it and make it up. Now, me coming on time on the train station was easy. I imagined meeting our friend, feeling happy. We would hug. And I saw the color expressing this feeling as a rainbow. It didn't have to be a literal thing. It didn't have to be a literal thing. It just simply had to be a color or anything that represents that feeling. Correct? So now, if you get something that represents that feeling of fulfilling, connecting to the divine, let it be that color.
And what I really appreciate how you do this is that you invite people to play. And a lot of times I think people, they get that
Yeah.
literal mind again. They're like, well, I'm
Yep.
not seeing anything or I don't feel anything
Yeah.
without really realizing, hey, you could play.
Yeah. And you know what? We all can pretend. Some people are more visual than others. Some people feel more than others. And you know what it feels like to be getting whatever it is you want. You can make up a color and just pretend. You say it's green, it's blue, it's yellow. For most people, there is an intuitive sense for what it is. So I got a rainbow color and this image of us hugging, which was a more literal image, but ultimately it was that rainbow. So then, now this comes the important part is take and honor that old, not so nice, more yucky thing, whatever it was, the anger, the frustration, the sadness, the heaviness, and honor it by thanking it. Thank it for having wanted something so beautiful. It actually wanted something really beautiful, didn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And for that, you can thank it. It maybe didn't know how to get there in a more mature way, but it tried. It wanted to shake up the world or drown us in tears and sadness until somebody would listen. But what it really wanted was to get what it really wanted. So once we thank it and give it that honor, it actually allows that feeling to release its hold and say, hey, finally somebody's listening. Don't we all like it when somebody listens and says, oh, I get it, you're good? And that's the same thing with our internal emotions. In this quantum foam, just wants some acknowledgement. So give it acknowledgement, say thank you, and ask it if it's now willing to become that which it always wanted. It's not assuming that it's this enemy, this thing that doesn't want to evolve. It's more like saying, oh yeah, I got it. You want this. So here we have A, the old, and B, the new, which is one and the same. It's like the flip side of the same coin, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you go and say, thank you. And would you now like to become transformed into that image, color, shape, form, energy, whatever it is, of your fulfilled self? And when it says yes, which why wouldn't it? It's like, of
Yeah.
course I do.
That's what I'm trying to get to. Yeah.
Yeah, that's why we're a wannabe. Then you go whoosh and you put the two into one. And the two merge into singularity. And all that's left is this new discovery, this new event, this new feeling, this fulfillment, this connection to the divine, this fulfillment of me arriving on time. Irregardless of what your left brain said, remember that's like waiting out there to take notes later on.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, okay, where two meet into one, magic happens. Where two things, and in duality, in the world of duality, we typically cannot merge two into one. When two can be merged into one and being unified, and that's why the quantum matrix healings techniques works. That's why all quantum shifting works. When you put two into one, even two souls, two people who put their soul union into singularity, into the oneness, a new dimension evolves right there within you. You become, so to speak, the black hole that goes whoosh and puts multiplicity into singularity. And in the moment where you become that singularity, that union of the two, you become the birthing place of the next dimensional expression of the higher expression of whatever it is you wanted. And what you have is a nice feeling inside of you, and then we go and guide people through letting that feeling and image as a holographic dynamic energy purify all cells, all cellular memory, the past, and pre-touch the future. So it's like goes into the past, through the cells, into the DNA, and into the future, and rolls out the golden red carpet. Now, I'm sitting there in the train, and I'm feeling better.
Well, and you know what? And we really, that's kind of what we want anyway. Because,
In the first
who
place,
wants
right?
to have a horrible experience?
Exactly. So then we go into this fulfillment. We go like, hooray, I'm feeling good. And that's great. Now we arrived in Stuttgart, and my husband and I got out. And we weren't married at the time, but, my husband now. So then we got out, took our train, took our suitcases out, went to where we were supposed to meet our friend, and he wasn't there. The clocks, had still shown that we were late. We got out, and I said to Don, can you go look for him maybe around the corner? I mean, who knows, maybe he's there. And I like this sentence from the Course of Miracles, which says, expect a miracle. So Don went around the corner, but our friend comes towards us and says, Don, Ilona, what are you doing here early? I look up at the clock, and I felt like I had just entered Twilight Zone. The clock above us, in big bold letters, said that we had arrived before the arrival time that I had marked down for us to arrive at, despite the fact that all the clocks along the way showed that we were late. Now, I did have my left brain jump in right then and say, excuse me, wait a second, it must be October, the end of October. No, it's not the end of October. We don't have daylight switching time, winter time coming in. No, we're in September. What on earth just happened? Well, the other part of me came in that remembered that you allow miracles and you don't question how they arrived. You simply say, thank you, God. And you're happy that you're in your fulfilled future.
Well, and on that note, on the thank you, how important is gratitude for all of this?
Yes, I love that you asked that. It is it's gratitude. You can, some people have used gratitude in advance and said, thank you, dear God, for bringing this beautiful husband. I thank you, God, for this wonderful income, this wonderful job. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I really love it. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Well, you can also do it any moment something is going well, but it raises your vibration. If you're raised up in your vibration, you probably spill out gratitude prayers all over the world.
Mhm.
If you're not doing so well, and sometimes we wind up in not so good places, things don't go always the way we want, you can get yourself out of the slump by just starting to notice things that are beautiful or that are worthy of saying I'm grateful for. Like, you got out of bed, didn't you? You had food this morning. The sun is shining somewhere behind these clouds, or we're sweating, but hey, it's better than the snow. We're happy for the life that we're living, the flower I saw, the light that shone through my window late in the evening, in the summertime. It's whatever we can get ourselves out of a slump by being grateful. And when we're grateful, we raise our vibration, and when we raise our vibration, we are able to shift time and space more easily. So
Hmm.
I just gave you a quantum shifting technique of how to move from point A to point B in a parallel universe concept. And if you allow yourself to think of it like quantum foam that blinks off, and science says our reality does not exist of particles, nor do we really have atoms. We have something that blinks on and off 50 billion times a second. Now that's a lot of
That is a
blinking.
lot.
And you can go and say blink, blink, blink. In between that blink, I chose a different reality. And time and space will adjust according to your ability to occupy the fulfilled future or not. So if you're willing, allow yourself the luxury of fulfillment. It is something to get used to.
Mm.
We are very good at playing dramas and then playing the record player over and over on that bad line. No, why bother playing bad records? You can just stop it, put on a new record, and start playing happy music. Are you ready?
Oh yeah. You kidding? Yeah.
Yeah.
And do you know what? And what I found interesting, like I took when I started your Living from Vision course, I took like a Saturday and I
Yes.
went through like the first portion of it and then spent the rest of the day just kind of being in that space. And it's interesting. It really kind of helped me to get to the place I wanted to get with all of this. So the matrix for miracles is something that's possible for people. And a lot of times I think people are like, "Oh, I don't know if that can even be a thing?"
Right. Yes. So there is an absolute recipe. I mean, it's God-given right. The Essenes had a beautiful way of describing prayer, and they said, and I think Greg Braden mentioned this in one of his books. Imagine imagine your prayer as if it were already fulfilled. Don't beg. God doesn't want us to beg. God wants you to know that the source, the universe, or whatever is listening. And you are, by virtue of being part of life, you are the co-creator. You are the dreamer, you're the co-creator, and it is your birthright to create heaven on earth if you so choose. Now, we
Mm.
all have the right to choose what we want, but we might as well grow beyond ourselves, feel happiness, because happiness is our barometer if we're on course. If we're not, we need to be quiet and listen and talk to the universe and say, give me some insights here. What am I missing? Start with some gratitude prayers. That would be good.
Well, and so for let's say we have listeners that say, "Gosh, I don't even know what I want. There's just so much
Yeah.
going on in the world. It's so negative. I don't even know
Yeah.
if I could focus on positive, and I don't even know what I want." What do you say to
Right.
those people?
Well, I do say, please fast from the news. What are they going to do with you listening in? nothing more than what they do without you listening in. So might as well just focus on the things you can affect in your life. Start focusing on creating more happiness for yourself and others, and just unplug for a while, or just be aware, because I am including myself in that. If I have shut down news apps just so I don't keep listening to what bad things are happening, and I actually happen to hear the things that I need to hear, walk by. One time I went swimming with dolphins and they said to me, I said, "Well, how can I help you? Focus on how you could be of service, how you can help." And some good ideas will come that may actually turn into your passion, may turn into your next purpose. If you start helping or giving, you come out of your own rut, and sooner or later, I had this teenage boy. Two stories. One second. A mom who didn't have a talking teenage boy in Australia. She dragged him into this class. The woman was teaching. It was an elder woman. She'd set her goal to lose some weight. She'd attended one of my seminars, and this mom had brought her son. Okay, first night is over. They're driving home. Well, they're not getting out of the car. They're talking and talking. And she said later on to the teacher, it was the first time they had talked in maybe a year. The boy wanted to come back to the class. And in the fourth week, when it was about his life's purpose, he got the sense that he wanted to help other cancer children, and he wanted to donate money to it. And the funniest thing is he had started playing piano some time ago. So what he decided to do is to amp up his ability to play piano, start performing, and collect money, and then give it to the cancer sick children. So he shaved his head in solidarity. He crawled out of his hole of not having any purpose in life, and he started caring and giving, and meanwhile was becoming a happy person. And just by sticking through, starting to dream a little bit, brainstorm and write anything you want down. Just start. If there was no constraint about money, if you could do anything in the world, what would it be? Just write 10 things down. Do it in 2 minutes. Give yourself a time frame. Don't stop, just put a stopper on it. It's like, talk, 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 talk. That's what we do in the course. It's like, get the left brain, give it a break, do your right brain thing, and just play. Let yourself dream, no matter whether you think it's reasonable or not. I have had so many people have totally unreasonable dreams. Like one woman, she said she wanted to live like me, like on a dolphin. I lived in Hawaii with my husband by a dolphin beach. Out of one of those dreams, I'd read about dolphins. No, I watched dolphins perform and orcas, and then decided, my God, I need to find out more about them, and then went swimming with them and pursued that dream until we then eventually lived next to a dolphin beach in a house. And we lived there for 12 years. And she had become my student. She'd read my book, and she then did the Living from Vision course and said, that's what I want. I want a life like Ilona. I want to live by the beach, and I want to have palm trees on top of me. Well, she was a therapist in Germany, a psychotherapist, and it took her 2 years. She did the exercises for 2 years. And I told her it would take her. She invited me home. I said, well, you have 2 children, one too old and one too young, but they need each other. As soon as one goes to school and the other one has to go to social services and off to do the replacement for military, that was in Germany, she would be free to have her dream come true, because we do have other people in our life that depend on us, and we subconsciously also include them in our dream making. We don't want just our dream to be good. We want everybody to be happy. Sure enough, 2 years later, she got her dream. She still is living it. So many people have dreamt whatever. One lady just simply said, I want to listen to the Phantom of the Opera. That was her goal number 1 out of 4 goals for the month. She comes home after the first night, and the CD Phantom of the Opera is laying on the kitchen table. She's like, whoa.
It's funny you mentioned that, because I was just watching that last night. So,
oh my God.
I know. Yeah. So it was kind of funny. I was like, oh, I haven't seen this in a while, and so just kind of was watching it. But yeah. Small world. Yeah.
And so, the dreams can be, I want to live like that, or I want to have $1 million. I have so many stories. And what I can recommend everybody to do is get some books that have positive, upbeat stories of success. It'll inspire you. I do it. I wrote my books for that purpose. And I also read the book by The Power of Your Subconscious Mind by Joseph,
Mm.
whatever his name is, not Pierce, right? It's The Power of Your Subconscious Mind, and it's one success story after another. The the story as to what we think makes the universe tick has changed. We have a new metaphor. I'm giving you one where I'll say, how about living in this parallel dimensional universe, and you just choose the one that you feel you can occupy with all earnesty in your heart.
Yeah.
And the metaphors change. The secret said it's magnetism. It's all metaphors. The fact is, even the Essenes said it back thousands of years, God or something is listening, and you communicate with the universe. And they said to have successful prayers, you've got to assume that God is listening and instantly fulfilling your desire, because that's how the universe is set up. If you're willing to receive, just knock on the door and it will be opened.
Yeah. What a beautiful note to end on. And I know our listeners are just, yeah, I mean, I always enjoy conversations with you. I know people get so much from these discussions. And so I
Thanks.
just
Yeah.
really appreciate you taking the time to share your wisdom and insights with us today.
Yeah. And, I was going to leave you with those 3 magical words at the end.
Oh, yes.
Yes. And so that little lengthy exercise of feel your feelings if things aren't going well, give it a shape, feel it where it is in your body, give it a shape, a color, a form, take it outside, ask it what it's been doing, and then ask what it really wants. And then imagine already being in the future fulfilled where you already have that. And then merge the two and create this quantum miracle. Well, when you are shy of time, you can just remember these 3 words, and they work well if you practice them. There's going to be, now marking my notes here, it's called stop. Stop the movie you're in. Just step back. Take a look at what's happening. Become aware of what is happening. And then choose where you want to really be. So you stop the film. You become the director of your show instead of the actor. Look at what is going on. Become aware of what you really want to go, where you want to go, and then choose and occupy that future in your emotional body for a moment and merge that present state with that future state into one and hold that for a moment, and it goes kaboom, and miracles will happen. And that's how I manifested my beloved, my forever amazing partner, Don.
Mm-hmm.
He told me that particular technique when I was unhappily married and at age 21, and I said, what do I do? And he said, feel your future in advance, but just don't put a face on it. Just let the universe fulfill that part. And it did.
And look at you today. It's,
Yeah.
yeah, I know recently you shared an image with me of you with angel wings, and I sent you a little note back that's so
Yes.
you, because I mean, you can see how you help people all across different
Yeah.
countries, regardless where you're at. You're all in these different areas helping people to elevate their vibration.
Yeah. That was my dream. I was young. I knew that's what I came to the planet for with, but I also had moments where I just said, this is what I'm doing. This is what I want to do. And so for the last 30 years, that's what I've done. I've helped thousands and thousands and thousands of people fulfill their dream. And that has been all the way in Africa to Australia to South America to China to France to Canada to America to England to Germany to Switzerland, everywhere. And we all are the same. We want happiness, we want fulfillment, and we want to grow beyond our current state. So I wish you all the best. Join me on Living from Vision on my website, livingfromvision.com, if you want to find out more about it. Maybe, Marianne, you have a link you can post somewhere. That would be awesome.
Oh yes,
And
we have a link right here where people can connect on, click on it. It'll take them right to your website, Living from Vision. Ilona, thank you so much for taking the time to be on the show with us here today.
thank you. Thanks, Marianne, for being the lighthouse for so many people. Thanks for
Oh.
everybody, and share this information. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Ilona. It's been such a pleasure to spend this time with you today, and of course, to talk about the Matrix for Daily Miracles. Again, if you'd like to learn more about Ilona Selke, you can visit her website, livingfromvision.com. Her book, Dream Big, The Universe is Listening, is available on Amazon and Barnes & Noble. Well, we're at the end of our time today. I would like to thank everyone for tuning in. You've been listening to Moments with Marianne. And remember, make every moment count.
In a single moment, your life can change. Moments with Marianne is a transformative hour that covers an endless array of topics with the best of the best. Her guests are leaders in their fields, ranging from inspirational authors, top industry leaders, and business and spiritual entrepreneurs. Each guest is gifted and a true visionary, a recognized leader in her own work, and while teaching others to develop, refocus, and grow, Marianne will bring the best guest and sometimes a special surprise. Don't miss this. You never know just which moment will change your life forever. Moments with Marianne airs every Thursday, Friday, and Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Mountain Time. Make sure to tune in and visit momentswithmarianne.com for more information.